Hey friend, I'm Wendy McNeil. I'm the founder of Charlie Jane Speakers, and since 2002, I've helped speakers go from, I think I want to speak, to, I just got booked. I'm a Nebraska girl living my dream of working with speakers, and in this podcast, I'm sharing simple strategies and the behind-the-scenes truth about what meeting planners actually respond to. We'll talk about pitches, talk titles, one-sheets, where to find legit opportunities, and the small moves that lead to big results. I'm a wife to my best friend of 35 years, mama to 4 amazing daughters, and nana to 12 grandbabies who totally have Nana's heart. So grab your coffee and let's get into it. Hey everybody, it's Wendy here, Charlie Jane Speakers, and thanks for listening in to today's podcast. One sentence that gets you booked. That is the title of this podcast, and it is going to be awesome. First, I'd like to welcome our visitors over to our free Facebook group. It is called Grow Your Speaking Business, Grow Your Speaking Business, and it is fantastic. I'm not going to lie. It's an amazing group and talented group of people and speakers and new ones that are just thinking about starting, and then we have speakers in there that have been in there for well over 30 years. It's really a powerhouse of information, and we share speaking opportunities, and we connect, and we share tips and all the fun things. So I'll leave the link in the show notes so you can join us over there. Today's title of this podcast is called The One Sentence That Gets You Booked. The one sentence that gets you booked. You know, there was a season in my life when everything fell apart. You know, and I don't talk about it a lot. It's not my whole story. But the 3 million bankruptcy is part of who I am. And what I remember most about that time wasn't the weight of the debt or the sleepless nights, though there was plenty of both. What I remember is the moment I stopped trying to explain everything, and I just got quiet enough, just quiet enough to hear what was actually true. And out of the wreckage, something clear emerged, a direction, a next step. And one thing I knew I could do. And that one thing became the foundation of everything I have built since. When I think about that season, that was a very long time ago, back in the early 2002, when I work with speakers on their messaging, I think about that because getting to the one sentence, the sentence that makes an event planner stop and say, yes, that's exactly who we need. That's exactly who we need. It requires that same kind of quiet, that same willingness to strip everything away that isn't essential until what's left is true. Most speakers I've worked with over these 24 years, actually 24 plus, they can talk about their topic for an hour, maybe even longer. But ask them to say what they do in one sentence, just one clear, specific, bookable sentence, and the room gets really quiet. That's not a confidence problem, my friends. That's a clarity problem. That's a clarity problem. And clarity is something we can work on. Here's what that one sentence needs to do. It needs to name who you serve. Not everyone, my friends, but someone specific. It needs to name the problem, or the moment that person or the moment that person is living in. And it needs to point towards the transformation that happens when they hear you speak. Okay? And not vaguely, I inspire people to reach their potential. That is very vague. You need to be specific. What changes? Like, what do they walk away able to do, to feel, or believe that they couldn't before? That formula sounds simple. And in a way it is, But getting there requires you to make a choice, to stop trying to be everything to everyone. I know it can be difficult at times. And commit to being exactly right for someone. That commitment feels vulnerable, I know it felt vulnerable for me too. Rebuilding after losing everything in bankruptcy, and choosing one direction when I wasn't sure it would work. But here's what I've learned. Clarity is not a cage, my friends. It's a key. And the speakers who get booked consistently are not always the most talented ones in the room. They're the ones who can tell you in one sentence and without hesitating exactly who they're for. Exactly what they address and exactly what shifts because of it. That sentence is what gets forwarded to the committees, to the boards, to whoever, is making that hiring decision. That sentence is what gets copied into the booking email. That sentence is what makes a planner feel confident saying, yes, it is your job to make them feel confident. You have that sentence inside you. Sometimes it just takes someone to help you hear it. What does yours sound like? What does your sound like? I want you to sit with that today. Maybe write a few versions. Don't try to make it perfect right away. Just make it honest and very specific. Because, my friends, that is where bookable always wins. Inside the Charlie Jane Speakers Club, we help you find that sentence. And then we give you the tools to pitch it to real opportunities with confidence. So come check us out. CharlieJane.com, CharliJane.com. And I will see you over there. But before I leave, I like to offer or share with my listeners a freebie. This one is the 50 events. Always looking for speakers. Pop in there. I'll leave the link in the show notes. See if you're fit. Put yourself out there. And check that list frequently. We change it every few months. So that is it for today's podcast. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.